Alrighty, everyone, welcome back. Apologies if I look like I was crying for 4 hours. I just had a choking fit right before I pressed record. I'm kidding. It was because Nolan Patrick retired. But anyways, so it's Christmas Eve, in fact. There won't be any hockey today, tomorrow, or the 26th, unless if you're looking at World Juniors, which I may make a video on. I haven't really decided yet. It will be the 26th if I make a video on that. So today we're going to look at the state of every NHL team, like we did at about 5-ish games into the season. I meant to make one at Thanksgiving, but my inconsistency got the better of me. But regardless, we're doing it today. I'm not going to just not do it. It is Christmas Eve, so I got to get this done before I go have some festivities with the family. But regardless, Merry Christmas to all. Let's get into this video. So I went in reverse order this time compared to last year when I went in order from Anaheim to Winnipeg. This time I'm going from Winnipeg to Anaheim. A difference is, too, there will be timestamps in the link in the description below if you don't want to watch Winnipeg all the way up to Philadelphia. You want to just skip right to Philadelphia or just skip around. Go ahead. I don't care. I'm going to try my best to describe the state of every NHL team currently. Some of these may not be the best. Because obviously I can't watch every single team in the NHL, but I've tried to watch as much hockey as I could, especially since I had COVID this past week and couldn't do anything. So I watched literally as much hockey as I could. But regardless, I won't waste any more of your time. Let's get straight into this video. So starting off here with the Winnipeg Jets. The Jets are 29-3 for 43 points. They are third in the Central Division, and they're doing a pretty good job right now. I think they might be the best team in the NHL. They really are a wagon to watch. Even though they are third in the Central Division, the Central is very competitive right now. It's really close. Like Dallas and Colorado are tied. I think Winnipeg's 1 point behind. If I'm correct, they might be tied with them too. But regardless, they're really keeping themselves in it here, and they're playing really good. They're going in. They're beating teams that they should beat. They're beating teams that maybe they shouldn't beat. They're beating a lot of good hockey teams here, and they look like a really solid roster right now. Now, the question is if they can keep this up into next year and not fall off and then barely make the playoffs on a wild card. That did happen last year. Around this time last year, they were about first in the division. And then they just did not play well in January and February and March following then. I don't think that'll happen this year. I feel like this team's really good. Velarde looks great in his return. Just everything seems to be rolling right now for this team. Even though Kyle Connor's out for a little bit, that is a concern. But they're still playing well without him. So I'd say overall they're probably one of the best teams in the Central right now. And there's really no doubt about it if I'm being honest. So anyways, moving on now to the Washington Capitals. The Capitals are 17-9-5 for 39 points. They are fourth in the Metropolitan Division. So yeah, the Capitals, they're sticking in there. They play this weird system where they don't allow a lot of shots, but they don't score a lot of shots either. A lot of their games have been low-scoring hockey contests. So, yeah, I feel like they're playing very well right now. They're still in it, for sure. There is going to be, and I've said it in videos previously, there are going to be teams in this division of the Metropolitan and in the Eastern Conference as a whole that are pretty good hockey teams, but they missed the playoffs just because of how competitive it is this year. It's still so wide open at the Christmas break. Usually by the Christmas break, you know basically what the standings are going to look like, what teams are going to make it, and what teams are going to miss. Right now, though, there's teams that I think are as low as 13th in their conference that could make the playoffs. So it's a really wide open division right now when you look at the overall Metropolitan. But yeah, Washington, they're playing well. Ovechkin still not scoring. He did score in the overtime game against Columbus, but, he has 6 goals, and the team's still playing really well. So, I mean, hey, maybe when Ovechkin starts scoring more, this team could get a lot better. And I mean a lot better, because I feel like they're playing a really good system right now. They just need Ovi's goals, and boom, they're in a really good spot. Next up, then, the Vegas Golden Knights. The Golden Knights won 21-9-5 for 47 points. They are second overall in the Pacific Division. I said with the Knights that this latest Eastern Conference road trip has kind of been affecting them a little bit. And that's been a common theme for a lot of teams this year. It's not just Vegas. that they're struggling on those East Coast or West Coast road trips. It's really a struggle for some teams when you have to go across 3 different time zones and all that. That is a struggle. But overall, I think the team's playing pretty well. I don't think there's really anything to worry about with this. I think once they come home, everything's going to go back to normal. They should still be a playoff team. They're the Cup champions. So yeah, every team goes through struggles, and this could just be one of the things for Vegas that has been happening. Next up then, arguably one of the bigger surprises, because I don't think anyone thought they'd be first at the Christmas break, the Vancouver Canucks. The Canucks are 23-9-3 for 49 points. They are first in the Pacific, and they are first in the NHL. I love the way Vancouver's playing. I watched tonight's game against San Jose. Kuzmenko, big comeback game. I was going to make a TikTok on him getting traded. Maybe not now at this point. Still playing some really solid hockey. I think overall the team's playing great. A lot of guys are having career seasons. Brock Besser's looked great. Miller's looked great. Quinn Hughes, I don't know what it is. Maybe him being named captain was what turned this team around. But yeah, overall the team's playing really well, and they should be in a playoff spot come Christmas or come the start of the playoffs. It is Christmas. But anyways, they should be in the playoff spot by then. And overall, they're playing some really solid hockey. I'm going to make a video on them either the 26th or the 27th. I haven't really decided yet because they don't play until the 28th. So we'll find out there. I want to make a World Juniors video in there too. So, we'll find out what my schedule is going to be. But yeah, obviously Vancouver, best team in the NHL. We'll see how long it lasts. Next up then, the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs are 17-8-6. For 40 points. They are second in the Atlantic. They're slowly catching up on Boston for that first place spot. Boston's been playing kind of rough lately, but we'll get to that when we talk about Boston later in this video. Toronto, again, playing very well. I think Matthews has scored a lot of goals. He could get 60 again on this pace, maybe even 70 if he picks it up in the second half. He's got about 30 now, so I think he really could get, realistically, 60 goals again in his career. But yeah, Toronto, overall, they're playing really well. The goaltending is a little bit of a concern. Samsonov's numbers have not been great. We'll see how Wall is when he comes back from the injury. But obviously right now it's not looking so good on that end. But overall, the team's playing solid. I like their bounce back from that horrible loss against Buffalo. That was atrocious. But yeah, overall, team's playing pretty well. We'll see how long that lasts. Next up then, the Tampa Bay Lightning. And if you asked me at the beginning of the season that if I thought Tampa would miss the playoffs, I probably would have said no just because of how good of a team this team's been when I've watched them. But now, yeah, they're probably going to. It looks like that's the likelihood of what's going to happen here. The Lightning, 17-13-5 for 39 points. They are fourth in the Atlantic. I feel like they could make it, but there's a lot of teams in that Metro that are still really competing for a playoff spot. There is. They're in the Atlantic too. There's teams below them that are still fighting. It's good they got the overtime win against Washington. It seems like their numbers are getting better, and the hope is it'll get better from there. But obviously, like the team, there's been a lot of struggles, and Hedman being out obviously hasn't helped. He's come back though, so I think he's fine now. But yeah, hopefully the Lightning can keep this going. They're above 500. That's a good thing. But we'll see if they do anything in the playoffs this year. It's really crazy watching this kind of fall off from the Lightning. Not really a fall off, but this decline since they won that cup in 2021. It's been really interesting to watch, if I'm being honest with you. And they are a team that I need to make a video on very soon, so look out for that, Lightning fans. Next up then, the St. Louis Blues. The Blues went 17-15-1 for 35 points. They are sixth overall in the Central Division. I like the Blues. I like the way they're playing. They've been picking up some wins lately with Craig Berube being out. They're now 1 point behind Arizona for a playoff spot. So obviously there, you look at that, they are still in the race for it technically. All they need is one more win and bam, they're in a second wild card spot. So they're still most definitely in it. And there's a few teams below them too that are still in it as well. So definitely, I like the way St. Louis has been playing lately. A good comeback win against Chicago. Just the hope is they'll continue this and keep this going. But obviously, we'll find out. Next up, then, the Seattle Kraken. The Kraken have gone 12-14-1, or 12-14-9, sorry, for 33 points. They are fifth overall in the Pacific Division. The Kraken are picking up enough wins and enough points to really keep themselves in the race. They are only 6 points behind Arizona. with a few games in hand, I believe. So overall, like, they're getting enough points. They're playing the way they need to, and, the roster still not terrible. I think a lot of their problems have come on the defensive side of things and just struggling to score a little bit. But regardless, I think the team is playing well enough to stay in the race. We'll see if they actually make the playoffs this year with the team they have. So we'll find out, obviously. Next up, then, the San Jose Sharks. Now, if you haven't noticed, I am wearing a new jersey I've gotten this year in a video for the first time. Thank you, Keegan, for this jersey. I really appreciate it. San Jose was one of the teams that I needed to get a jersey for, and now I have them, and it's the old one from the 90s. But regardless, the Sharks, they're playing like they came into the NHL in the 90s. They are 9-22-3 for 21 points. They are 8th overall in the Pacific, and I believe last in the NHL. At the current time of recording this video, they're tied for last, I think, with Chicago. But the funny thing is, I've been watching that the past couple of weeks between them and Chicago. Be like, who's going to be the worst team? And they've just kept losing. So yeah, that's pretty much where San Jose is going to be for most of this season. Obviously, like they kind of started winning some games back in November that really kind of put them closer to the playoffs, closer in quotations. But obviously, they've kind of fallen back down to earth now. They haven't won in a while, but they are playing a good spoiler role. The effort is there. They look better than they did in the first month and a half of the season, where they would just lose every game. They look much better at this point in the season. So, yeah, we'll see how San Jose does in the second half. I'm assuming they probably won't win a lot more games. Not going to lie. Next up, then, the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Penguins are a weird team with me. They went 15-13-4 for 34 points. They're 7th overall in the Metropolitan Division. Pittsburgh, I think that there's still some problems that are there, but it feels like the team is getting better. It feels like they are heading in the right direction with the overall roster they have. I think that, they've played better lately. They couldn't get the comeback against Ottawa last night. I watched that game, but they did get the point. They played very well in that game, especially in the final frames. So, yeah, overall, I think, the Penguins, they're going to stay in it. They are 7th, but they're still relatively in it. They are only 2 points behind the Devils for that 6th spot, and they're only, I believe, 3 points behind the Lightning for the second wildcard spot. So, yeah, they're still in a pretty solid spot right now. We shall see what amounts to Pittsburgh in the second half. Maybe they miss the playoffs again. Maybe they make it. Who knows? Next up, then, the Philadelphia Flyers. And this is another team that really, I would not be surprised in the second half of the season they fall out of the race. Wouldn't surprise me at all. The Flyers, 18-11-4 for 40 points. They are 3rd overall in the Metropolitan Division. I love the way the Flyers have been playing. The comeback against Detroit was awesome, even though they didn't win the game, but it's on top of their other results. They really can stay in games, and you cannot take them lightly. You can't. It's shown in December. They've only lost 1 game in regulation so far. They are going on that West Coast road trip, which I'm a little bit concerned about because they're playing the best team in the league, Vancouver, the high-flying Oilers, the Flames, and the Kraken. So we'll see. Maybe they can win 3 or 4. We'll find out. But obviously, like Philadelphia, I talked about yesterday, so I'm not going to go too more in depth. But yeah, they're playing a really good surprise role. They're getting scoring from everywhere. And overall, the team's playing great right now. And I don't think there's anything really to be mad about. So yeah, Philadelphia playing some very solid hockey. Next up, then, the Ottawa Senators. The Senators are 12-17-0 for 24 points. They are 8th overall in the Atlantic Division. I think at this point for Ottawa, after they fire DJ Smith, is to really just get used to the system. I've heard that they abolished DJ Smith's system completely. They're learning a new system. That's going to take at least 20 games. Going to take at least 20 games to figure out before you get some legitimate success. The hope is that, though, they will transfer to this system, and then next season they will be another high-flying team and hopefully make the playoffs in 24-25. That is the hope for me. I'm not entirely too sure if that's going to be a reality, but I would love to see it happen. Because Ottawa, I've really enjoyed the past couple of years, even though they haven't been that great. I love the roster. I love talking about the Senators. They're one of the teams that I made the most videos on in the channel's history. So definitely the Senators, one of my favorite teams to talk about, even though they've been struggling. But yeah, they just got to get used to the system, and they got to learn how to hold leads. They've blown so many leads the past couple of days. It has been unreal. Next up, then, the New York Rangers. The Rangers, arguably the best team in the Eastern Conference. They are 23-8-1 for 47 points. They are 1st overall in the Metropolitan Division. The Rangers playing really well. Still playing at that good pace. They're winning games when they need to. They lose some here and there, but they're still playing really solid. Panarin's playing great. Jonathan Quick's playing well as well with Igor Shesterkin. The defenses look solid even without Adam Fox for that little stretch. Just overall, the team's playing great. I think there's really nothing else to say. They're going to be a really hard team to beat in the playoffs, unless if something happens like last year. But overall, I feel like the team right now is playing some of their best hockey overall, and hopefully that continues from the Rangers. This is probably the best I've seen them play in general through this season. Next up, then, the New York Islanders. The Islanders are another strange team with me. They have gone 16-8-9 for 41 points. They are second in the Metropolitan Division. If you take away their, and this makes me mad to talk about, but if you take away their overtime points, they are literally seventh in that division. Literally, they're literally seventh in that division if you take away their overtime points. So, yeah, the Islanders, they're getting points. They're playing their system, and I've said this in so many videos about the Islanders. They play the way they have to with the roster they have to win. It's just the way they are. It's not like me trying to criticize them at all. It's the way they play with their roster. It's great. Obviously, the roster is not a really offensively touted roster, so they don't score a whole lot. Generally, they don't score a whole lot. When you look at their goals for and goals against, it's actually negative, and they're still somehow in the playoff race. So, yeah, the Islanders, they're picking up enough wins. They're upsetting teams. They're playing their system, and they should be a playoff team this year. And odds are right now they would play the Philadelphia Flyers. Isn't that fun? But anyways, yeah, the Islanders definitely playing some very good hockey right now. Next up, then, the New Jersey Devils. The Devils could be a team for me that could be a hard out. They could be a team that falls out of the race and doesn't make the playoffs this year. It really is possible. They are 17-13-2 for 36 points. They are 6th overall in the Metropolitan Division. Yeah, I like the way the Devils are playing a lot. They're winning games when they need to. They got a good win against Detroit last night for a good wild card race points. But obviously, they need to start winning some more. They are only, I believe, 3 points behind Washington for the next playoff spot. So definitely they're still in it. But they could be one of the teams that, with the way they're playing, they could be a hard out. And I think Lindy Ruff might be the first one to be blamed for their struggles. He probably will be the first one to be blamed. And as well as that, too, the stats from Vanacek and Schmidt have not been great either. I think they will look at a goalie, especially with Dougie Hamilton being out for as long as he's going to be. They're going to go look for a goaltender in the trade market. And there's going to be plenty of teams that are not going to give up goalies easily. There aren't going to be goalies giving up at discounts this year, mainly because of just how competitive the race is this year. It's just going to be really interesting to see. Next up, then, the Nashville Predators. The Predators are a surprise team for me because I didn't think they'd be this good. They are 19-15-0 for 38 points. They are 4th overall in the Central Division. Nashville plays a great style. They're playing really solid. They're getting goals from anyone. They're getting goals from guys when they need them to. Last night, Michael McCarron, Colton Sissons. They're getting goals from guys who aren't big name players but are playing really well right now. Even though they lost last night to Dallas in a pretty embarrassing fashion, they're still playing very well. And just overall, they're staying in the race and they're surging up and they're just overall playing great. I do want to make a video on Nashville soon. It might be either at the beginning of the year or before the year ends. There's still a whole week of video content that I can make, so obviously stay tuned for that. But yeah, they're playing really good right now, and I think it'll keep going. Next up, then, the Montreal Canadiens. The Canadiens are another team that surprised me through this half of the season. The Canadiens are 15-13-5 for 35 points. They are 6th overall in the Atlantic Division, and they're staying in the race too. They really are. They're competing. They're not far behind for the wild card spot either. They're playing some great hockey. They're only 1 point behind Detroit, I believe. So yeah, they're playing well. Even though a lot of their games have gone to overtime, they're still playing some really good hockey. I made a video on them a few weeks ago. I think last week I made a video on them, I believe, or 2 weeks ago. It's been a little bit, but regardless, they're still playing great. And I expect that to keep going. And I mean, hey, I hope it does, because it would be a very fun playoffs to see Montreal make it when they really weren't supposed to be in it. So obviously, we'll find out what amounts to that. Next up, then, the Minnesota Wild. The Wild have gone 15-13-4 for 34 points. They are 7th overall in the Central Division. Obviously, with me, the Minnesota Wild have been a very fun team to watch through these past couple of weeks. Sean Hines has really helped them out. I think they're starting to win a lot of games. Kaprizov's gotten a lot better. The team looks a whole lot better. Overall, the whole team looks exciting right now, and they are still in it. They really are. They're only 3 points behind Arizona, I believe. So it really still is a wide open Western Conference race, and there could be 2 teams that make the playoffs that maybe shouldn't be in the playoffs. It's just so wide open this year with Seattle falling out of the race and Edmonton falling out of the race that it's given open some spots for other teams. So we'll obviously find out who those teams will be. Next up then, the Los Angeles Kings. The Kings are currently 19-7-4 for 42 points. They are 3rd overall in the Pacific Division. Loving the way the Kings are playing. They obviously have the easiest schedule in the NHL. With Vegas losing a couple of games, they are 5 points behind the Golden Knights now for that second spot. So they're going to still compete. But obviously right now, it would be a Vegas and Los Angeles first-round matchup, which even though the first time we saw it happen in 2018, it was a sweep, I think it'd be very fun this year to see. But overall, the team's playing great. Cam Talbot's been a really big surprise for me. Just the road record's awesome. The home record needs to be improved a little bit, but there's still a lot of time for them to fix their home record. I don't know what it is, but they just seem to be much better on the road than it is at home. So my advice for Kings fans, wear the opposing team's jerseys. That's all I'm going to say. Next up then, the Florida Panthers. The Panthers have been struggling a little bit lately, but they're still a really good hockey team. Florida's currently 19-12-2 for 40 points. They are 3rd overall in the Atlantic Division. I love the way Florida's been playing lately. They've been really enjoyable team to watch. But obviously there's been some struggles lately. They're still a really good team. Last night's win against Vegas was huge. Definitely they're still playing really, really solid. Tkachuk, even though the scoring hasn't really been there, the team still looks pretty good. So I'm just gonna say they're playing really solid even with Tkachuk not being the best. He should improve in the second half of the season though. I really think he should. Maybe there's something there from the playoffs that's bothering him injury-wise, but right now he's playing really solid. And I mean, hey, if the things go the way they are right now, it's going to be a Leafs versus Panthers first-round matchup. I wouldn't be against that. Not at all. I feel like if the playoffs started today, there would actually be a few new matchups because of some of the teams that are in the playoffs. So it'd be pretty interesting to watch. Next up then, the Edmonton Oilers. The Oilers are currently 15-1 for 31 points and 6th in the Pacific. So the Oilers are interesting with me because they win a lot of games, then they lose a few, then they're starting to win again, and now they're probably going to start losing again. The Oilers, I think, honestly, it might be too late for them. They're still a pretty sizable reach behind the playoffs. They're only 5 points behind. That is possible. They still can make it. If there's a team that can make it, it's the Oilers. I've said that in videos before. But overall right now, they just, they look kind of streaky. We'll see how it goes for them. But obviously McDavid's playing well. Draisaitl's playing well. The goaltending looks better, but there still are some improvements I want to see. And I think if they miss the playoffs this year, I think Holland's job might be on the line. We'll find out, though. What happens there with the Oilers and that. But obviously, they're another interesting team. Next up then, the Detroit Red Wings. The Red Wings are currently 16-14-4 for 36 points. They are 5th in the Atlantic Division overall. I love the way Detroit's been playing. They've been playing some really good hockey. I think recently, though, they've been struggling to hold leads. I think it might be a mental thing, though, with them. Lately they've been struggling to, keep leads. The 5-1 lead blown against Philadelphia should not have happened. It was unacceptable. They did win it, but they probably didn't deserve that win. No lie. But yeah, Detroit, they're still a playoff team nonetheless. They're probably going to win enough games to be a playoff team. Their goaltending, obviously, there's been some injuries. Kane's played pretty well. So, there's a lot to look forward to if you're a Red Wings fan after this season. They definitely may not be a playoff team this year, but for sure next year they probably will be a playoff team if they play this way again. Next up then, the Dallas Stars. The Stars have looked better recently, even without Ottinger in net. They are 28-4 for 44 points. They are 1st overall in the Central Division. Again, they look entertaining. They look fun to watch. Wedgwood looked great in net in replacement of Ottinger. The team seems to look, honestly, better with him in net besides Ottinger, even though they rely on Ottinger a lot for some of the wins they've had this season. But I like the way that the Stars have been playing. It's been really fun to watch, and we'll see if it keeps going from here. They're obviously a very fun team. Robertson's been playing well, so yeah. Next up then, the Columbus Blue Jackets. The Blue Jackets are currently 11-18-6 for 28 points. They are 8th overall in the Metropolitan Division. The Blue Jackets, it's too late. I mean, right now you're just trying to focus on getting the young guys better. I know Pascal Vincent has not done a good job at that. He's been putting like Fantilli on the fourth line and scratching David Juracek. It's been really strange what he's been doing. But yeah, I think their problems really lie on the back end. I think that they have a really solid offensive core, but I think the defense and the goaltending is still what's causing their issues right now. And I think maybe if by the trade deadline Merzlikins isn't playing great, maybe they decide to move him. Who knows? He was one of the guys that I was thinking about when I was making my trade candidates for the 2024 deadline. So we'll find out there what Merzlikins going to do. But the Blue Jackets, obviously, they're too far out of the playoffs right now to even make a push. So that's just what I'm going to leave it at. Next up, then, the Colorado Avalanche. The Avalanche are currently 21-11-2 for 44 points. They are second overall in the Central Division. Again, the Avalanche playing great. Very entertaining team to watch. There's been some struggles lately. Devon Tays called out the media, but hopefully the win against Arizona will turn things around, for the better of this roster. But obviously, right now at the Christmas break, they're still in a playoff spot. They're still there. But we'll see if those inside struggles of the Avalanche will hurt them come playoff time. So we'll obviously find out there. But yeah, overall, the team's playing solid. We'll see what continues there, though, heading into the second half of the season. Next up, then, the Chicago Blackhawks. Only a few more teams left. The Blackhawks are currently 10-22-1 for 21 points. They're eighth in the Central Division. The blown lead against St. Louis just showed me that, yeah, they're not going to make a comeback at all. And that was expected. But hey, Connor Bedard hits to Michigan. He's playing really well. He has a lot of points in his previous games. I believe he's at 30 points now. So, yeah, he's playing some really good hockey and definitely deserving of it too. And we'll see what comes in the second half of the season from Bedard. But he's been really fun to watch. Overall, he's been really fun to watch. So hopefully that continues for the Chicago Blackhawks. Moving on to the other page here. Next up, we got the Carolina Hurricanes. The Hurricanes are 17-13-4 for 38 points. They are fifth overall in the Metropolitan Division. Carolina, there's still some concerns there. Being able to score when it matters is still a concern. The goaltending isn't as much of a concern, but it's still definitely something that I'm keeping in mind. I think Kochetkov looked better. Anderson, when he comes back, is going to look better too. But yeah, the team getting enough points. I think they should still make it, but right now it's so close that I honestly don't know. It changes from night to night. So I never thought I'd say it at Christmas, but every game matters. And unless if some team like the Hurricanes or the Capitals or the Devils, unless if one of those teams goes on a huge run, then I don't think that the playoffs are going to be really that much less predictable. Because, like, honestly, I think unless if they go on a run, I think it's going to be really wide open until then. So we'll find out there with the Hurricanes, but overall they're playing some solid hockey. We'll see what continues there, though. Next up, then, the Calgary Flames. The Flames are 14-15-5 for 33 points, and they are fourth overall in the Pacific Division. It's crazy how they're below 500 and they're still in the playoff race. But yeah, they are only 3 points behind Arizona for that second wildcard spot. They're still in it. There have been a lot of young players who have played well for them. Connor Zary, the most notable. Huberdeau, though, worst deal in history. I've said that before. But yeah, like obviously the Flames, there's still some work there to be done, but they're still in the race nonetheless. We'll see how long that lasts in 23-24. So yeah, we'll find out. Next up, then, the Buffalo Sabres. The Sabres are currently 14-17-4 for 32 points. They're seventh overall in the Atlantic. I don't know what it is. It's pretty much the same roster from last year, and they're still not doing well. I don't think they'll make the playoffs again this year. I think things have gotten better from previous seasons, but I don't think they're going to be a playoff team again this year. And that's brutal to say, but I just don't see it. I just don't see it happening. They're just one of the teams where like they just can't seem to get over the hump. And I feel like even though they have a really good roster, they just still aren't there right now. And yeah, I mean, they're getting some wins here and there, but just right now they're not in the race, and it's unfortunate. But maybe something changes. Maybe they go on a huge run in the second half, but just right now, I can't really see it. Next up, then, the Boston Bruins. The Bruins are a concern for me because I think Boston has not been playing well the past couple of weeks. They are 19-7-6 for 44 points. They are now first in the Atlantic. They got outplayed by Minnesota. They got outplayed by Winnipeg. This West Coast road trip has not done them good things. But like they just have not looked great the past couple of weeks. I think like honestly they're struggling to score now. The goaltending's been good, but I don't know if they're scoring enough to really help out those goalie numbers and have the goaltending save them in some of the games. So maybe Boston peaked too early. We're gonna really find out in the next couple of weeks, but obviously that is something to keep in mind there if you're a Bruins fan. We'll see if they make the playoffs. They obviously still are first in the Atlantic, but Toronto is coming up on them very fast. They need to start winning some games again if they want to keep that first in the Atlantic spot. Next up, then, the Arizona Coyotes. The Coyotes are currently 17, 14, and 2 for 36 points. They are fifth in the Central Division and hold that second wildcard spot. As I mentioned, St. Louis is 1 point behind them, so they are gaining on the Coyotes. But Arizona could be a playoff team this year. They were riding a 4-game winning streak. Again, I need to see consistency. I need to see some consistency out of the Arizona Coyotes if I want to say that they are a playoff team. I need to see some more consistency out of them because that's all I've seen this season. It's just they can't seem to get something going. They'll win 4 games, they'll lose 4 games. They win a game, they lose a game. They'll win 2 games, they will lose 2 games. So, like, you just can't seem to find consistency with this Coyotes team. So, obviously, we'll see what happens there. But obviously, they really didn't have expectations to be a playoff team this year. So, I'm not all too concerned. Finally, the Anaheim Ducks. The Ducks are currently 12, 21-0 for 24 points for 7th in the Pacific Division. I'm not going to go too in-depth here because Anaheim's not that big of a playoff team. They're losing again. It's been a frustrating year. They're going to finish out of the playoffs again. Probably another high draft pick coming for them. But yeah, overall, the Ducks, they're going to be down Leo Carlson too. Zegras out of Michigan last night, so I guess that's cool. But yeah, obviously there are still some work to be done with the Anaheim Ducks for sure before they are necessarily a playoff team. But yeah, that'll do it for the state of all 32 teams. I pretty much did that in exactly 32 minutes, so 1 team a minute. That's pretty good. But anyways, let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like. Hit the subscribe button down below. I would greatly appreciate it. I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas. I will make a video tomorrow on Christmas showing you guys all the stuff that I got from everyone. So, it's just going to be a nice video to make. But anyways, thank you all for watching. Happy holidays, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.